Why are we so food focused? Hey everybody, it's Val from Autistic Interpretations. In today's Q&A, I'm going to talk about a question we often get. Sometimes it's a comment, sometimes it's a question about why are we so food focused? In our videos, in our dialogue, I wanted to explain about all of us. I think we're all food focused in our house. And I wanted to give you some insight. Often the comments and questions about being food focused are about Jessica. Here's the secret. When I was a child, I was always asking about what was for the next meal, just like Jessica. I've been hearing kind of joke stories about that my whole life, about how I always needed to know what was next. And I have a theory about it. It's just a theory. But my theory is this. My theory is that it's all related to anxiety or the prevention of anxiety. I have food aversions. I've always had food aversions. I have texture issues with food. I have strong food preferences. And the way I see it is, if I know what's next, then I'm not going to stress about it. Because most likely it's going to be something I'm okay with. Even if there are 3 things on the table, if I'm okay with one, I should be good. If I don't know what's next, I'm going to worry about what's next. Because what if it's something that I have a strong aversion to? What if it's something that's a food texture that I just cannot overcome and make myself eat? What if I'm afraid it's going to upset my stomach? And I don't want to, trigger that. And so I can worry about all that. What if it's this? What if it's that? What if it's bad? What if I get sick? What if? Stress, worry. But if I know, I'm okay, can move on, don't have to worry about it. Therefore, asking what's next, asking what's for the next meal, what's the meal plan, is comforting. It relieves anxiety that might not have even happened yet. It prevents it from happening. That's a very simplified example. Some might say, yeah, but couldn't you just go get something out of the refrigerator that you liked? Well, I'm 54, I think. And it's just not the way it was when I was a kid. Things were very different. Food options were different. What was available for convenience foods in the fridge was different. And also, people might have grown up in a household where you eat what's on the table, whether you like it or not. And you don't ask for something different. You don't ask to be accommodated. And if you go somewhere like a family's house and they're having a food and it's something that's on your food aversion list, you don't announce it. You don't talk about it. You don't say, I'm not going to eat that, or can I have something else? It's rude. And maybe I'm quiet and shy and don't want to say anything anyway. So I just kind of quietly keep it to myself because I'm the only one. I'm the only one having these issues, only one in the family having these issues about food. So I can remember there's a lot of food that I can remember my mom liked, my brother would like, my sister would like, but I didn't like it. I didn't want it. I don't know. My food preferences were kind of narrow. And then you have situations where you might go to a sleepover and you don't know what kind of food other families eat or what might be available at the sleepover. And what if you're going to be hungry at the sleepover and this anxiety kicks in and dread and fear and it's unpleasant. What if you're going out to eat and everybody in your family likes a particular restaurant but you, and you get outvoted and you go to that restaurant and everybody orders something to eat but you don't because you don't like anything on the menu and it's stressful and you don't ever want to go back there, and you never forget that. It hangs over you forever. So some of these are experiences that I've been through in my lifetime. So I kind of understand Jessica's need to ask what's next. Jessica's need for there to be a plan about what's next, because I lived that. I still have strong food preferences. I still have food aversions. I still have texture issues. They're not as severe. They're not as bad. I've gotten over some of it, but I get it. I understand. So that's me and my focus on food, and why I feel like focusing on food is something that happens and I'm okay with it happening around here. So what about Hannah and Jessica? So both of them have had some kind of a food issue since birth. I'll start with Hannah. So Hannah, when she was born, had trouble keeping food down. She was always low muscle tone, and if she burped, hiccuped, did anything, her food would come back up. Not just a little bit, almost all of it. And it was an ongoing problem that eventually led to a diagnosis of failure to thrive. When she was about 10 months old, she got RSV, and she didn't get severe respiratory symptoms from the RSV, but she quit eating, and we couldn't get her to eat. And over a day or two, she just became lifeless. She would just lay in my arms sleeping. I could barely wake her up, and she wouldn't take a bottle. She wouldn't take water. So I took her to the doctor, and I'm like, what do I do? And the doctor's like, I went to the doctor 2 days in a row, and she's like, I don't know what else to do but just to put her in the hospital. So she was hospitalized to get IV fluids. As she started feeling better from the RSV, she started eating again, and we got beyond that. So over time, Hannah could eat more, and it was enough to sustain her life. And then when she was about 7, I think she was 7, we were on a trip, and she started having an upset stomach or something. And so she quit eating. I couldn't get her to eat. And this went on. She would just nibble. Again, we went to the doctor. We went to GI specialists. We went to whoever we could think of. They did testing. They could find nothing, no explanations. And it was so intense. The issue was such a big issue that Hannah's growth curve, her whole life, her height was at the top of the 100th percentile. And her weight was just below the 50th percent. So she was always underweight. So when she hit this phase of not eating anymore, it literally stunted her growth. So instead of being at the top of 100th percentile, she moved down. I don't remember where it moved to, maybe 60 or 70%. And her weight moved down to, I don't know what, but low on the chart. And she never regained. It was a permanent change in her growth pattern. For Jessica, her issue at birth was trouble latching, which we didn't know at the time. It was related to hydrocephalus and her brain development and stuff like that. But she always had just a little trail of formula out of her mouth while she ate, whether she was nursing or taking a bottle. And her narrow food preferences started as a baby. That was always an issue for her. And I talked to doctors about it. I talked to a nurse during a nursing assessment about it. Nobody was overly concerned about it. But it made life difficult. Both Hannah and Jessica had trouble eating meat that wasn't processed. And what I mean by that is like roast beef, a pork chop, chicken that's not a nugget. They struggled to chew it and swallow it. I don't know why. They just did. And when the kids were little, we ate as a family every single day. At the end of the day, we always had dinner at the dinner table. I always cooked. And dinner time was a battle. And it was no fun. It wasn't pleasant. We didn't have a good time. It was the girls both chewing their food and packing it in their jaws and not swallowing it. Sometimes their dad would try to squeeze it back between their teeth to get it in their mouth and get them to swallow it. That was never really effective. Sometimes he would say, swallow your food or you're going to be punished, and they would accept punishment instead of eating their food. And so mealtime was a battleground. So for me, as the cook, as the person who plans meals, puts food on the table every day, and puts all the effort into cooking, it became a very stressful, part of our lives for me to constantly think about, this one will eat that one will eat that, this one will eat something else. Bad Daddy will eat pretty much anything. I'm a little picky, but at this point, I don't care. If I can get everybody else to eat, we're good. So food has been a focus. That's my point. Food has been a focus all our lives, in a very stressful aspect of our lives. So Who's the most food-focused person in the family? The answer is easy and will probably surprise you. It's baddaddy. And so why is he food focused? Like, what are his issues that made him or leads him to be food focused? Some of it may be experienced with childhood food insecurity. Maybe it's related to a lifelong intense metabolism that allowed him to eat such a large quantity of food that my mother told me she'd never in her life seen anybody that could eat the volume of food that he ate and stay thin. So that's been his whole life. He's needed a lot of food because of his metabolism. To this day, his reaction to hunger or the threat of hunger is more intense than anybody else's in our family. He becomes distracted, almost unable to focus. He generally appears unhappy or moody when it's almost time to eat and there's not a food plan, or there's not food available, or food is not imminent. So I've learned when we're somewhere else that I don't need to just have a snack ready for Jess for her moments. I need a snack for his moments, because he generally becomes distressed and unhappy. At this point in our lives, our focus on food is much more pleasant than it used to be. At this point in our lives, Jessica's food preferences have expanded greatly. There's a lot of foods that she likes to eat. She eats a lot of vegetables. She eats a lot of meats. She does not eat fresh fruit unless it's like strawberries on strawberry shortcake, or blueberry, little bit of blueberries on a cake or something. And she doesn't eat raw vegetables of any kind. She doesn't eat like chicken salad. She doesn't eat tuna salad. She doesn't eat cottage cheese, yogurt, things like that are cold. She doesn't eat them. And foods that are cold that she likes, she struggles to eat. Hannah finally got to where she could eat food. Now we can have a little bit more fun with mealtime, with meal planning, and our focus on food is more of a positive thing at this point. We still do food planning. We still do meal planning. I still think through, what can I make that most everybody will eat? It's easier than it used to be. We have fun with it. We like trying new recipes. And since we all work from home, we eat from home a lot. We eat three hot meals a day often, because we usually have leftovers and we can heat up leftovers. Sometimes we have sandwiches, sometimes we have cereal, but most of the time we don't. And that's our preferences in our house. That's what we choose to do. And I work in my room. Hannah works in her room. Jessica and Marlo are usually in her room. Baddaddy's usually at the table. So when we come out and we come together for mealtime to prep food, to cook food, to eat food, that's often when we also pick up the camera to make some videos, because I've been working, Hannah's been working, Campbell sometimes works and he does other stuff. And it's just food is a big focus in our household. And so that's why it becomes a large part of our dialogue and our videos. And anytime we ask Jessica what's her favorite kind of videos to make, she likes to make cooking videos or food videos. And I see nothing wrong with that. And we like sharing our Southern heritage with some of the cooking stuff we do. Sometimes people comment on how much we eat out. And we do go through phases of eating out, because we eat at home 3 meals a day, every day. And so sometimes I get tired of cooking. Sometimes we're short on food, or sometimes we have food to cook, but it's just not something that sounds good. So we eat out. People eat out. That's why restaurants are successful. When Baddaddy worked, he ate out probably at least 1 meal a day every day, and sometimes twice a day. And when I worked at the hospital, on my work days, I frequently picked up food from the cafeteria to eat. And, it's my assumption that a lot of people eat on their lunch break, and they don't always pack their lunch from home, and they grab something convenient or close by to eat. And then sometimes people are tired after work, they're busy after work, and they've got other after work / school activities, so they pick up something on their way home. So I think people who work and people who don't work eat out, and we do too, and I think it's okay that we do. I think those kind of wrap up the reasons why we are so focused on food. Food has always been a major focal point in our lives. We've all had negative food issues. And knowing and understanding food plans is comforting and relieves or prevents anxiety. Due to multiple circumstances, we cook a lot and we plan a lot about food. Food is a big part of our day every day. If you want to know specifically more about Jessica's food issues, if you're curious specifically about Jessica and her food issues, I have a video I made last year sometime that is specifically about Jessica and her food issues. I'll put a link to it up here. And it's about, the title is, Why Does Jess Take Such Big Bites? I addressed the specific issues that she's faced in her life about food. And other than textures, temperatures, and food aversions in general, Jessica's had some negative experiences in the classroom, such as food deprivation being used as punishment, and being force-fed something like boiled eggs, which she hates, and it made her vomit in the classroom. And I have never given anybody permission to force-feed her anything. I addressed some of those things in that video if you want to watch that. There's some other things I didn't really talk about in this video, but tradition, like a Southern tradition. There's a lot of Southern cooking, and I came from a big family. We had a lot of family get-togethers. We would do potluck or covered dish or organized meals, or I grew up going to my grandmother's after church every Sunday and having a big family meal. And food meant family, and it meant interaction and love and comfort. And for me, that was a wonderful part of childhood and my childhood memories. And I hope to be able to create memories like that with my family. And it's not all negative. There are a lot of positives to food memories, and it connects us to our heritage, and it connects us to our loved ones that might not be with us anymore. I have several things that I cook that specifically I learned how to cook from my grandmother. So when I cook them, I think of her every time. And Hannah's got a knack of making the really good potato salad that is very similar to what her granny used to make. And it's delicious. We all love it. So there are those positives too. Anyway, I digress. So I hope this has answered your questions about why we're so food focused, why we make food videos, why you see food so often. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. If you have love and want to share a loving thought or memory, please put it below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.